Good afternoon. We are continuing the recorded proffer interview of Ms. Maxwell. The time is 12:59, Thursday, July 24th.
Okay, so just continuing, we were talking about Ms. Maxwell. Still focused on the 90s time period, with understanding that could spill over in the early 2000s, but still that part of your life with Mr. Epstein. There's been public reporting about conduct by Mr. Epstein and others at Little St. James.
Yes.
So can you talk about the frequency with which you went there, and address some of those, some of the reporting, namely around young masseuses or young women who would be present, and what you observed relating to them, and then I'll ask questions around that.
So, if I'm right, he purchased the island in 1996, and he was friendly with the owners. And originally, we went to the island as guests of the owners, and then, I guess at some point, the owners told him they wanted to sell, and he decided to purchase it. So, the island was very rustic. I loved it. Of course, I had completely different ideas. And I would say there was none of what you were describing at that early period of time. So the frequency was often on the island, because he loved it. He really, really loved it. And we would go all the time. Mostly, all the early phase was based on improvements that could be made on the island, always going with new architects, new designers, new construction people. I'd say the first 2 years, almost every trip, not everyone, but almost every trip contained an individual who would be brought on board to have an opinion as to how to I don't want to use the word improve the island, because I don't think you could improve it, but I can't think what the word would be, develop it, sorry, that's the word.
Okay.
Develop the island, that's the word I'm looking for. So there were trips, constant trips with that in mind. And I would say now, if we're moving to the late 90s, 96, 97, I definitely witnessed a progression in Mr. Epstein's behavior, and a modification, if you will, where in the past, in the early 90s, I don't remember traveling so much with other people, or there'd be a masseuse or a yoga person, but now he started to travel with more, always a masseuse, whereas in the past it wasn't always a masseuse or always an instructor. There was now starting to be always an individual or a friend or whatever. There's always maybe the word would be entourage. But these were always people in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s, as my memory sees it, as I observed that time. And he tasked me with finding a local masseuse for him in St. Thomas, because sometimes, even though I say he would always travel with an entourage, sometimes he didn't, and he wanted to have a massage locally. So I visited the spas that were local in St. Thomas and in St. John. And if I met someone, a man or a woman actually, because it was difficult to find somebody in St. Thomas, it's not exactly, so, and I did find a couple of people who would come, so that's how they came. Because also it was a schlep, so if you had somebody who came, it would be, you'd have to, boat ride and several hours. It wasn't just it's not like arriving with your massage table and stuff, so there was that. So I did do that.
So did, over the years, males also give massages to Mr. Epstein?
Yes. I did say I don't think, at the beginning, definitely, and I would say towards sort of, again, late 90s, I don't remember any men. They were at the beginning, I think, in that, towards the late 90s, I kind of don't think of any men, I only think of women.
Did you, you talk about entourage flying, right now we're talking about to the island. Did you observe any sexual, I was going to say misconduct, but any sex at all whatsoever on the plane?
Never on the plane, no.
Was there a part of the plane that was closed off from others where Mr. Epstein could go and get a massage or whatever?
Okay, so that's a good question. So there were two planes. So you had there was a Gulfstream, that's open plan. So anything, I mean, there was a sofa that turned into a bed. I needed sleep on that. And then, but in the Boeing, which he flew on a lot, there was his area could be closed off with a door. And behind that door there was a bedroom and an office. So if that door was shut, you wouldn't see it.
But but you never observed Mr. Epstein engaging in sex or getting a massage with somebody where the masseuse was not clothed on the plane?
I can't say that. I might have.
Okay.
I definitely might have, either both in the Gulfstream or in the
Okay.
I'm sure I did, but it's not. I can't.
That's fair.
Okay.
Um,
I'm absolutely sure I did. I must have, because he was so obsessed with someone rubbing his feet, or just when you ask me about massage, I just want to be clear. I generally what I think of that is somebody on a massage table, but other people might think of it as something different. You could have someone rubbing his feet or his shoulder. I saw that all the time. That I did, but that's separate from being on a massage table.
How? Again, I know we're talking about a decade-long period, but during the period we're talking about, in a 7-day week, how often would Mr. Epstein get a massage?
In the 90s, when we're talking, he would get one every day. I think as that time progressed, he would get one maybe twice a day. I do want to say that there was maybe a reason that things altered or morphed or progressed, and it is maybe part of the reason also that he and I, our relationship, or however somebody wants to call it, altered, and he started doing testosterone, and that altered his character. And I believe that started in the late 90s. And I believe that the FBI has his medical records, and you may see that on his medical records.
So you believe that he started taking testosterone in the 90s, and when you say that altered his behavior, you're saying it made him get more massages, or that was just one part of what changed about him?
Well, he became more aggressive.
Nice.
And I think that he may be, now I'm just imagining that the testosterone altered his desires or something. Does that...
And so when, given what you've said the past couple hours about his kind of progression or change, let's focus on that time period. So more towards the late 90s,
yeah, okay.
So 96, 97, 8, when you've said that he changed. Did you know flat out that he was having sex or otherwise some sort of sexual conduct with masseuses regularly?
Flat out, no. I denied that. I couldn't imagine that he would. But I think, looking back now, that I did not. But I started to suspect that he was not faithful. Seems ludicrous, but that's what I thought.
But look, if he's flying from Palm Beach to St. Thomas, or if he's flying all over the country to New Mexico or to New York, or even in Palm Beach, and there's young women, putting aside whether they're under the age of 18 or in their 20s, every day at the house, multiple masseuses, multiple massages on some days. You're interacting with the masseuses constantly. Or maybe that's not right.
That's
let
not
me
right.
let me take back what I just said. Ignore that part. But you understand that he's getting massages every day, sometimes multiple times a day. By the late 90s, it's all women. Presumably, they're some of them are new, but they're also repeat masseuses. What did you? I mean, you had to know at that point that there was something going on beyond just he really needed to get massaged.
Very fair question. There's two things. The first is the person that he saw the most at that period of time was in her 40s. And she was with him all the time. And I'm like, married as well.
Yeah.
And I'm square. And it never occurred, well, I don't believe it occurred to me at the time that with this woman he would be having relations. And he was with her. That was the person he had the most massages, yoga, and that with at that time, in the 90s period. The second thing is that he told me he had difficulty having an erection.
When you said he said that, you mean he regularly told you that? Like
when I first, because when I didn't have after the first time, and it took, so I asked him, was it me? And he told me it was him. And I'd never, up until this moment in my life, I'm not stupid, I'm very bright. I've had an excellent education. I travelled all over the world. I had boyfriends. But I had never met or understood that somebody could be so, would lie to me about. It never occurred to me. I didn't have a frame of context within my life experience where somebody would be so manipulative and devious with me. And plus I just didn't have, and I was happy not to have sex because I have a condition that doesn't lend itself to that.
Does when you learned, so fast forward just for a moment to the 2007-8-9 time period, and he's arrested and charged, and there's all kinds of press around his purported contact. At that point, did you accept that was true? Meaning, did it make sense at that point when you were reading about women who claimed that they had been abused, even underage? And at that point, did you think to yourself, well, geez, that makes sense now that I think about it, or no?
First of all, I only read what was in the newspapers. I didn't have any other thing, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't believe it.
Okay. Right. I mean, you didn't believe that the accusations were true at the time. Yeah. So let's.
And sorry, I need to say, even if they were true, I believe that he was duped and he didn't know that they were, whatever was in the papers at that time, whether they said that they were 17 or whatever. It didn't register. Because along with all of those, well, not in 2006, but later when the more salacious and other allegations came out, I knew were utterly false, which then just reinforced my belief that the rest was not true.
Let me ask you a question about the age of the masseuses over the years. I think in my mind, there's a difference between you knowing or not knowing that a masseuse is under the age of 18 and coming to give a massage, and you knowing that Mr. Epstein, sexually abused the underage person, or made her strip or something like that. Meaning, and I want to understand whether you believe that nobody that came to give massages, none of the women were under 18, or that you didn't focus on their age, but you were more focused on whether any underage woman was abused by him.
I think it's better to answer this question with corroborating evidence and then go back and explain so that I frame your understanding of what I'm saying. My understanding is that in 2008, they had interviewed 44 women, let's say, or around that number.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, not a single one of those 44 women mentioned me in a single report. And it's not because... Go back. They didn't mention me in the report because they never met me, they never saw me, and they never interacted with me. So, to go back to your question, it's not that I thought one way or another, it's that I didn't see them.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Does that...
Yeah, no, that's helpful. So...
But when I say not one single one of those reports talks about me. And I just want to clarify exactly, because I'm obviously aware that one of those girls was one of the witnesses in my trial, specifically. To use her own testimony so that you don't have to hear my point of view, it's better if it comes from her own words, and that way there's no second guessing what I'm saying. Herself said that recruited her, brought her, and trained her. Those are own words. Where was I going with this?
That you didn't know. I mean, I assume.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to remember the words.
It's okay.
I really do have some slow cognition issues.
So she she testifies that it was that recruited her and trained her, and not you.
So then in her first FBI meeting, she reports seeing a woman with short dark hair at the house, which then is used as evidence that that person was myself. But the maid lady who helped keep the house, John Alessi's wife, with an accent, I believe she said. John Alessi's wife had short dark hair and an accent. I'm sorry, but I find, and you can ask yourselves this, I mean, I've obviously modified my accent. I've been in America a long time, but I'm British. I've been brought up with a very strong British accent. And I don't believe there's American on planet Earth that doesn't recognize this to be British or Australian, maybe, if you really don't know. But it's not some random accent. Now, the Hispanic, maybe, okay. That was John's wife that she saw, not me. And I'd like to point out further how you potentially through her own words, she identified...
Why don't we
okay.
stop there and let them ask the next
Sorry.
question? Yeah,
Okay.
So just, and look, I want to try to, I think probably tomorrow I want to talk more about kind of the evidence against you and how to address that. So
Okay, sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's helpful, but I don't want you to be burdened. I want you to just tell the truth the best you can. So I don't want you to be burdened by what people said at trial or what the press says about you.
I just thought it was illustrative when you asked me the question, because it doesn't. I did not. I absolutely have no memory at any. Now I'm leaving separate to this, obviously, so that's a separate story. I'm not going to pretend. Well, we'll
get to
yes.
Go ahead.
But in the terms of the scheme or whatever, however you want to determine what you're calling that, I have no memory, no active anything of having seen anybody that resembles a young a child, let's call it what it is, at that house giving him a massage. At all. It's not even like I did this. It's an at all. And 44 people didn't see me or talk about me either, including.
Did and when you say that house,
Oh, sorry, Palm Beach.
yeah, no, I understand what you mean, but does the same memory or lack thereof apply to on planes in New Mexico, in New York,
Well, with some other important caveats. On that, Bajorlin Jane in my trial was clearly underage, clearly a child, and I only saw her in Palm Beach, and I only saw her with her mother. The other person who was clearly also not an adult or even close, I believe, I remember her now, but that would be the only two, or three, whatever that is.
So, did you ever know Mr. Epstein to communicate with FBI agents, either like intelligence FBI agents, like as a source, or just generally with FBI agents?
No.
Do you think if he had done that, you would have known, like he would have told you something like that? Like if I said to you, Mr. Epstein was a source for the FBI, would you say, that's crazy, no he wasn't, or maybe he was, he would have told me that anyway?
I have two answers for that. I think if he was for real, I think he would have bragged about it to me as a show-off, because he could be a show-off. And if he wasn't, he might have dropped it like he was cool. And I don't remember him doing either. Now, with, again, the caveat that before I met him, finding money, I think he may have suggested that there were some people who helped him, but that's the only context that I recall that in.
What do you mean by that? When you said finding money, what do you mean?
Well, his business where remember I told you,
Mm-hmm.
I think in that context, he showed me a photograph that he had with some African warlords or something that he told me, and, you know, I don't remember if that's what I interpreted, like, that kind of thing, or whether it was something like that. That's the only actual active memory I have of something nefarious. Well, nefarious, I don't even know if it was nefarious, but covert, I suppose, would be the word.
And what about any other intelligence agency, like the CIA or Defense Intelligence or any other law enforcement agency?
Okay. I don't think so. I think that I don't remember anything like that. I just don't think he had the wherewithal, and I think that whole aspect of that is. Can I use a bad word?
Yes.
Yes.
Bullshit.
Okay. And what do you think is bullshit? Meaning, what do you mean?
Would you have known if he was? Would he have been bragging to you? Would he have been saying these things?
I think he was, because I think. Well, sorry. I think that. I think one of the reasons why he liked me was because of my family connections, and why he liked other people was because they were cool or whatever. And I think that certainly early when I met him, he would have tried to impress me, or tried to show off, if you will, like he was that guy, you know. And he wasn't that guy. And so, and I think that he would have tried to bullshit me, and he didn't. So I think it's. He may have tried to bullshit me, but no, I couldn't.
Right.
Sorry.
So I want to just shift for a few minutes to talk about post 2000 to kind of when your relationship changed over the years with him. Did there come a time when Mr. Epstein, did meet members of the royal family?
Yes.
When was that?
So I need to go back, because I think I may have misspoke.
Okay.
Well, I didn't misspeak, but it's something that I had forgotten.
Yeah.
before I met Epstein,
Mm-hmm.
he lived in London for a period of time. I don't know for how long. And he met and knew some truly fancy people, like people, high society people. That included Princess Diana's best friend. Her name was Rosa Monckton. And Rosa's husband, Dominic Lawson, who's a famous journalist, actually he's a very well-known journalist. And when I, and he was friends with the Barings Bank. I mean, he had like the sort of
That was, you're
before
talking
he
about
met me,
before, so in the
80s.
80s.
Yes, he was dating Eva Anderson, Miss Sweden, I think. I don't know when she became Miss Sweden.
Okay, so earlier when you said that he met them later, you
Yes.
think he may have met some members of the royal family, or certainly British high society?
He met, I don't know about the royal family, but certainly high society.
Okay.
And the reason why I know this is because sometime this is a documentable thing, whatever. There's a photograph that can give you the date, because I don't remember what the date is of this. So there's something that will peg whatever this date is. I don't remember when that is. Epstein went to London without me. He often went everywhere without me, but he was in London without me, which was well, decently unusual because London's my hometown. But anyway, he went without me, and he went to a big event in. I think it was in the park. Anyway, it was a big event. It's on the news. It's like there's photographs of it, and I don't know if he sat with Diana or he met Diana or he'd already met her. I don't know, but this I believe was organised by Rosa, and so there's. I don't know if she was being set up as a date for him, maybe, because I don't want to speak bad of Diana, but I'm not going to do
Okay,
it.
so that was pre-meeting you.
No, that was when that event happened when we were.
Oh, okay, that was.
And I
not
was
right. Understood.
it's when we were.
Okay.
I'm not going to say together, but
Okay.
how about this? When I was his employee.
Okay.
Better.
So now moving back to the 2000s, there come a time when Mr. Epstein met Prince Andrew?
Yes.
And others in the royal family, or just Prince Andrew, as far as you know?
Well, so as much as I can piece it together, first of all, let's just state I did not introduce him to Prince Andrew. I did not introduce him to Prince Andrew or to Sarah Ferguson. That is a flat untruth. I'll start with that. So now I'm going to tell you how he did actually meet him. So if you find me that photograph, I can date that time when he met Princess Diana at that event. And based on that, I'll be able to tell you if it's pre or post that event, because I haven't looked it up and I've never bothered to check. So Lynn Forrester, who was a client or some type of client, or I think she actually tried to date him, or might have dated him for the record. She was in... Do you want to ask me something?
No, okay. No.
Okay, she was, she had a house, or she rented a house in the Vineyard. I think it was in the Vineyard or Nantucket. I can't remember now which one it was. It was one of those. It's either Nantucket or the Vineyard. And invited Epstein to go. And I believe that's when he met Prince Andrew. However, I believe that before that event, he had gone to the Bahamas and had hung out with Sarah Ferguson. And Sarah had called Epstein and had arranged with Lynn, or I don't know now, I'm speculating. Anyway, long and short, he met Andrew up there.
And I'm not holding you to an exact date, but when
Well, we can
approximately
date
was
it from that picture, if you find me the picture.
But do you know, without looking at a photo, in your mind, approximately when was that?
I want to say it was 2000, no, probably 2001, 2002.
Early 2000s.
Yes.
And I think it was actually Prince Andrew himself who suggested that he met Jeffrey Epstein through you.
I think that's true. So, well...
It's true that Andrew said that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's true. Because I'm English, and my close friends are all close friends with Sarah and Andrew. And I would not say that I was close friends with Andrew before, but certainly we were friendly, and certainly his best friends, some of them were very, very close with me. And I think that my friendship, me being present, or me, is what made Andrew like Jeffrey more, trust him, or I think that's
So
maybe
you don't dispute that that you kind of had a role in getting together. You're just saying you didn't say, Prince,
I
here's
would never
Jeffrey.
have introduced them. It would never have occurred to me to introduce them. I couldn't imagine them being friends. Two chalk and cheeses would never, I mean, for real, there's nothing there to connect them. So he met Prince Andrew, and then he had a relationship. I don't like that word. It sounds funky. They had a
Acquaintanceship.
Thank you. And through Sarah, actually. I think Sarah is the one that pushed that. And they met and hung out, I want to say 2 or 3 times. That had nothing to do with me. I wasn't communicating with Andrew. I wasn't in touch with him. And I know this because I was annoyed. And I felt left out. And I felt disrespected. And I was like, this is weird. I couldn't even imagine Epstein and Andrew together. And I thought that Sarah was trying to put the moves on Jeffrey, if I'm being honest. And I thought the whole thing was annoying. And I was pissed.
So what happened with their relationship, putting aside the publicity around Prince Andrew's purported relationship with, what happened, as far as you know, with Prince Andrew and Mr. Epstein's relationship from the times you just described?
Okay, so after that, at some point, Epstein told me that Andrew was coming to New York and I needed to organize the whole thing. Right? That's classic, by the way, classic Epstein. Of course, if someone, I was like, all right, fine, whatever. And because he wanted to make sure that Andrew was taken care of and that he was comfortable, he had whatever he needed, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, am I going to meet him, or are you just going to have me do all the job? And he said, well, you can come and say hello. Like, wow, that's so nice of you, for real. Because you have to understand, like, I don't know if I told you this before, but I did not have the keys to his house. I was not allowed to go to his house unless I was summoned or told. I was not allowed to answer his phones. We can go there. But anyway, so this, we can tell, was a bit of a sore point, perhaps. Anyway, so Andrew came, and of course, the minute we got together, I was like, yay, hi! And then it was so nice because the difference of being in England with Prince Andrew versus being in New York without all the bullshit was insane. And our friendship just like lit up like this. Because first of all, he knew that I'm safe. I mean, safe as in I'm not, Nigel Dempster or taking a page. I mean, not in a million years would I do something so gross. And we honestly got on like a house off. I really liked him a lot, and it was so nice. And we just became really, really good friends. Much more so than when we were in London, if I'm honest.
And then with respect to and Prince Andrew, what do you know about that relationship?
Would you like to ask that again? Relationship's a big word. Like I said, I don't like the word. Let's just start there. Okay. So I have read. I just want to piece together.
Well, but don't say before you say what you read, because that's one of the problems is that we're all kind of
all right. What
we're
I
all
know.
informed by all the publicity and information around what everybody else has said. But what do you think? Or what did you see?
Well,
what did you hear?
What's an even bigger word than bullshit?
Okay. Why? Well, go ahead. But finish that thought. Why do you think that?
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm so happy to tell you. I'm excited. I'm beyond excited. Okay, so there's a mixture of what I've actually seen and know from the evidence and versus what I've put together. Impossible for me at this point to separate everything, but I'll tell you what I know versus what I saw and what I physically have in here. But it's helpful for you to know. So the allegation, I have to go with the allegation. The allegation was that at my house in London in March, whatever that was, 2001, I believe, we went to London specially so that could have a relationship with Prince Andrew, and she was paid a vast amount of money for that purpose. Okay, and that she then got in my bathroom in my house in London and had sexual relations with him, and then went into my guest room and had full-blown sex, and then left my house. Oh, he left, and she felt used and disgusting. And a photograph was taken of them just before all these events took place in my study. That is what is the story. Oh, and then after that, she met him several other times, but we'll come to that. This is where it will allegedly start.
And they went to tramp.
Oh, right. We went to a nightclub that night. Oh, we went to dinner, right? We went to dinner and then to tramp. Okay, so the first thing about that weekend, that specific weekend, was that it's my mum's 80th birthday and I was in the country. And I have some corroborating evidence for that and a lot of testimonial that you can check. So that takes care of the reason why one of the reasons why her story doesn't hold water. The second reason why, so by the way, when I say that, my mum turned 80th that actual weekend. It was her birthday, it's on March the 11th. And the reason why I went to London, and I presume, but I don't remember, is why when we were, so the whole trip started because of Alberto Pinto, who is the decorator for the island and for New York as well. And he had wanted Epstein to go to see a house in Marrakesh, if I remember rightly, and went via the Alhambra. It was also for New Mexico. So there's architectural pieces that contain, and that was the basis of that trip. And I suspect now that that trip was planned all around the fact that I was going to be in London no matter what for my mum's 80th birthday at my brother's house in the country, which is approximately an hour outside of London, an hour and a half outside of London, at my brother's home. And we all congregated on the Saturday for her birthday celebration on the Sunday, and then we left. So that's that. The second reason why, probably maybe even the more important reason than my mum's birthday, that I think it's absolute rubbish, is that Prince Andrew, the idea of him doing anything of that nature in my house that's the size of this room is so mind-blowingly not conceivable to me as the man, or what I can't even. No.
Is there any way that it could have happened?
No.
Okay.
Describe the physical plan.
Oh, the physical. So my house was tiny. I think it's 900 square feet in total. Well, maybe that. Is that right? Maybe 9. It is on 3 floors, however. So you're talking about it's a jewel. It used to be a stable for a horse. It was the stables for the big houses. It was the little poor man's home behind the rich man's home. It's a jewel. Was a gorgeous little place, but it is the size of a nut. If you make a noise, let's say you did a little burp or something, you'd hear it. It just, where she says that they had relations in a bathroom, first of all, the bath is an old Victorian bath. I'm quite small. It's tight for me. I put my brother in there to see what would happen, and it looks like a blivet, which is a sausage in a layer, very tight skin. So her description of whatever the two people were doing in the tub, that would work. The bathroom itself is so small you can't lie flat on the floor, so it couldn't happen on the floor because you physically can't. This bathroom is too small to even be on the floor. And then the kicker of all kickers is that because the bathroom was so small, I decorated it to try and make it look huge, which meant that I put mirrors the whole way around it. And what was so fun about being in there is that if you stood in the bathroom, you saw like 100 of you, like you do if you were in
A fun house.
yeah, well, Alice in Wonderland, or one of those things that you would see yourself going stretching everything. And it's the image, if you said you were, let's say you were, let's say the telling the truth, she could say she was having sex with 5,000 generations of the royal family because that's how far back you could see yourself. There is no way in God's green earth, if that had taken place, that this is something that you would miss, because you can miss it. If you were standing there now, you'd see the whole of the FBI, the whole of the Department of Justice standing behind you. It's like, no.
Did you?
Let me just also explain where the tap was in the bathtub.
Oh, well, it's an old Victor. Had a tap. So if you were in, God forbid, if you were in the tub, this was the tub. My tap would be here. I think. No.
So you think it's kind of logistically and physically not something that could have.
Well, there's
happened.
that, and there's just Andrew would. He's so. English. He's so. He had a tie on.
Do you think there's any way it could have happened or no?
Absolutely,
Okay.
on no way, no how, absolutely not. Wait, I haven't finished. So,
Go
on
ahead.
her.
No, no.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's his meeting.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go. Finish, please. Go ahead.
Sorry, can I
That's
finish? Okay. When all this nonsense took place, where this whole story with the picture and the this and the that and this bullshit, I believe that this whole thing was manufactured, and I can point you to some potentially corroborating evidence of this. So when she gave the photograph to the FBI in Australia,
Just to be clear, the photograph you're talking about the famous one
yeah,
where,
I have an image of it
where,
here.
where
If you want
Prince
to look at
Andrew's
it.
holding and you're in the background.
The fake. Just to be clear. So, on the back of that, and this is in the Discovery, by the way. I don't know if it's in, I don't know which Discovery I saw it in now, but this she wrote in the back that it was a picture that was taken in January of 2000 and, or 2000 or 2001, I don't remember.
Okay.
So now, in her handwriting that she's giving the FBI this picture, suddenly now it's March. So how do you go from her writing it's January to March? It's because that's the only one that fit with the flight logs, that when she could be in London and this took place. The second thing is that, I'm so excited to tell you this. There is a journalist. I know you guys are quite, I don't know. The fake news is at work here. So there's a journalist called Sharon Churcher. There is a lawyer called Brad Edwards. These two, and there is a Southern District of Florida prosecutor called Villafana. I would very much look forward to showing you the relationship between these three parties that created that story.
Why? Well, without putting aside the relationship, why do you think they created that story?
I believe that story was created for the purposes of, well, there are multiple. The first one is financial.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is for the purposes of the CVRA case. The third one was for the serialization both of her book and in the papers for the story to attack the royal family. And just as a...
So, I think when you were just asked about the photo, you said you actually thought the photo was fake. Do you think it was just misdated, or do you think it's literally a fake photo?
I believe it's literally a fake photo.
Why do you think that?
Well, first of all, I don't remember it. We'll start.
But
Right,
you,
okay, but the outfit I'm wearing
yeah.
is the outfit from my mum's birthday party.
So, but you don't have any. Do you dispute that they met each other?
Do you know whether they've met each other?
I do not know that they met.
Okay, so you not only you think the photograph is fake, but you also are not even positive they actually ever met each other.
I am not.
So you don't have a specific recollection of kind of being at an event or a party or your apartment or your flat in London with Prince Andrew and.
Absolutely not.
She doesn't know one way or the other.
Understand
I'm
that,
just,
yeah.
I want you
No,
to
no,
know
I
that
know.
the reason why I'm not hesitant. I don't have any memory of that. So that's not the issue. The issue is, could Andrew have come to the house to see me or see Epstein and say hi and she had been there? Yes. I can't say that didn't happen. But what I can absolutely categorically say is that I never at any time set Andrew up to have relations with her or any other human being ever. And I can categorically state that her characterization of whatever may or may not have happened could physically would just know. And plus, I was in the country, so all of that's just not conceivable.
Did you attend? Did you attend social parties over? And again, I really now I'm focused on 2000 plus, so not the early years, where Mr. Epstein would host a party or be a big part of the hosting of the party, and some of or many of the young women who were masseuses would be invited to the party as guests or as entertainment.
I certainly went to his house when he would have people who would be there that were, I call them, the way I would think of it and I would characterize it were his entourage. That's how I thought about it. And that certainly was in the later 2000s, yes.
Did you attend any weddings of famous people with Mr. Epstein? Again, I'm mostly focused on post 2000, but if there's something that comes to mind in the 90s, that's fine as well.
A wedding?
Weddings.
With Epstein? I don't think I ever went to a wedding with Epstein. I can't think of a wedding that I ever went to with him.
Do you know, so you don't remember, you didn't attend President Clinton's daughter's wedding?
I did.
Chelsea Clinton's?
I
But that wasn't with Mr. Epstein?
No, it was with Ted Waite, my boyfriend.
Say it again?
With Ted Waite, my boyfriend.
Okay. Do you know whether Mr. Epstein was at that wedding?
He was not.
And how did you have a relationship? Well, why did you get invited to that wedding?
Because Ted and Clinton were very close.
And how were you close to them? Like, what was the reason you were close to them?
I met President Clinton. Well, first of all, I went to the White House with Epstein once for, I think it was for a historical, like one of those benefits. And I met the president then, but like 1,000 other people shook his hand. Then after that, I had a good friend of mine that was known to be the mayor of Miami Beach, Philip Levine. And Philip and the president were very good friends. And Philip and I were very good friends, and so I actually was introduced to the president post his coming out of the White House and became friendly with him because of Philip Levine.
Because of what?
Philip Levine.
There's some names that have been publicly associated with Mr. Epstein that I just want to ask you if you know about. Piers Morgan.
Is friendly with who?
With Mr. Epstein.
I have no idea. Never. I doubt it.
Yeah, there's no trick question. I'm
Oh,
not trying
okay.
to, I'm not suggesting that
Oh.
I know the answer to it. I'm
Oh, all right.
genuinely just asking.
Well, I would be astonished. I can't imagine they'd have anything in common either.
How about?
Were you friends with Piers Morgan?
I've met him I've met him. I met him at an event in Manhattan. I can't remember what. More recently, so probably in 2012, 30, something in that, and we had a very nice conversation. So I remember that. I remember thinking, I don't remember if I'd ever met him before, but I remember thinking how nice he was and how I was surprised. So I liked him. What can I tell you? So that's the only memory I have of that. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's what I think.
I don't have a correct or incorrect.
No, I just don't know. I just want to try and.
No, but I want you to believe me, because I mean this. There is so much information in the public sphere about you and Mr. Epstein and others around, and some of it is definitely true, and some of it is definitely false.
Okay, all right.
So when I ask a question,
sorry.
if I think that you're not being honest or that you're missing something, I'm not. This isn't got you. I'll say that to you. Did you ever meet JFK Jr.?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever meet JFK Jr.?
Yes.
When was that?
I met him at Andrew Cuomo's wedding. No, Kerry's wedding. Kerry's wedding. Who did Kerry marry? Andrew Cuomo. Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Andrew Cuomo's wedding in
And when would that have been approximately?
1990.
So before or
1989. Something like that.
but would that have been before you
Or
met
maybe-
Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
Did you have any sort of professional or social relationship with John F. Kennedy Jr.?
I fancied him.
You what?
I thought he was very attractive.
Oh, you fancied him.
Sorry.
Aside from finding him attractive and fancying him, did you have any sort of, social relationship with him?
I mean, we knew each other, and I thought he was wonderful and fun, and I enjoyed meeting him. But we went out. I wanted to say we had a dinner or two, but I was very excited. But that was it.
And then Alan Dershowitz.
What's the question with Alan?
Do you say it again?
What's the question?
Do you know Mr. Dershowitz?
Yes.
Do you know whether he knew Mr. Epstein? Do you know the nature of their relationship?
I definitely do know Alan. I'm just trying to remember if I knew him. I'm trying to remember how I met him, and if I met him separate from Epstein. I don't remember, so that I have no recollection. I remember. I know that he was Epstein's lawyer. I don't know if they had any relationship prior to that. I don't remember. Oh, I do, actually. So, I think they met at the same Martha's Vineyard through Lynn Forrester now. I think that's what happened. I think that's it.
And why do you think that?
Because it just popped in my head.
Okay. And did you said that Mr. Dershowitz was Mr. Epstein's attorney. Do you know whether they also socialized?
So my personal memory of when I remember I have two distinct memories with Alan. One is with him and his wife at the island, and I actually remember that. And I remember, I think, going to his house in Boston. If he had a house in Boston, those are the only two times I remember.
Did you ever observe Mr. Dershowitz doing anything inappropriate with young women around Mr. Epstein?
Never.
Did you ever hear anybody ever tell you that he had done anything inappropriate?
Absolutely not.
Do you know one way or the other whether Mr. Dershowitz ever got a massage at the island or any of the locations that he was at with Mr. Epstein?
I don't remember anything about him ever getting a massage. I don't ever have any recollection. I don't believe I ever even saw him in a bathrobe. I have no knowledge of that.
I'm jumping around a little bit. You mentioned, I think, briefly, but the Terra Mar project?
Yes.
What is that?
I founded Terra Mar the idea of Terra Mar came, I think, in 2010. So I want to just explain Terra Mar a little bit. So Ted and I bought a boat. Well, Ted bought the boat. And the basis of the boat was to do explorations and sea exploratory stuff. This really started because I have and have had since I was a child a love of the ocean and everything aquatic, and I've always been I'm nervous about the state of the ocean. When Ted and I, we worked with National Geographic, and we did exploratory work, and the most exciting, we did many exciting things, but one of the most fabulous ones that we did was we looked for Amelia Earhart twice. I did 2 expeditions to look for Amelia Earhart as an example of an exploration that we did. And he had a foundation for the ocean, and we worked with Nat Geo, we worked with Woods Hole, we did amazing things. He bought the Remus 6000, so when the plane went missing, the plane that went, was it Air France, from Brazil to Paris and went down, it was the Remus 6000 that found that plane. It's one of those deep sea underexplored. Anyway, when I broke up with Ted, I just, one of the things I did not want to give up was my love of the ocean and everything that we did. And Terramar, the genesis of Terramar came from that. So Terramar obviously means land, sea, and the story of the ocean is that Earth really shouldn't be called Earth; it should be called ocean, because 3/4 is the ocean. So, and so I wanted to not clash with anything to do with Ted, because it was a bit awkward between us. And so he took all the part of the ocean that was close to land, so within 200 miles, and so I decided I would focus on all the part of the ocean that was outside of national borders, Terramar, and that's how that's the genesis of Terramar.
So what was the time period of that?
That, I think, after I broke up with Ted, so 2010, 11 is when it started, and then I ran it all the way up until whenever the Epstein drama struck, and then I just shut it down. I shut it down because I didn't want what was happening to hurt the Smithsonian or Nat Geo or I just couldn't let everything be hurt by what was happening to me.
Do you know Jean-Luc Brunel?
Yes.
How do you know him?
I met him, so when I told you I was working for the European for my dad, and I was in charge.
So back in like early 90s.
Yeah, and I was running a magazine. One of the things in the magazine is fashion, and so I was going to some fashion shows, and I was looking for fashion sponsorship. And in fact, when I came to America, one of the first sponsors that I got for it was Ron Perlman at Revlon, who was great. And I met Jean-Luc through just in Paris like that, but socially not.
Did Mr. Epstein know him as well? Did you later learn whether they knew each other?
I'm not sure. I don't. He would have. Epstein had his own fashion situation, so he would have. He didn't meet Jean-Luc through me.
Did you ever observe them together over the years?
Absolutely, yeah. I saw them many times together.
Did he visit the island? Did
Yes.
he go to Palm Beach
Yes,
House?
Yeah, he went everywhere. I saw him in every place.
Do you ever observe him getting a massage? Or do you ever know whether they got a massage? Maybe you didn't observe it personally. You don't remember?
I don't know. I mean, I have no conscious memory of Jean-Luc. I would imagine that he did, but I don't see it.
How about Mr. Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein?
What would you like to know?
Do you know him?
Yes.
How do you know him? Like, I guess when I say how do you know him, is it a relation you had kind of separate from Mr. Epstein, or did you meet him through Mr. Epstein or? Both?
First of all, I wouldn't say I had any type of relationship with Harvey Weinstein.
Okay.
In any context. Socially, I would meet him because I would go to events that Harvey would be at, and also his wife was English back then, Georgina. And friendly also would be a big word, more of acquaintance, so we would see each other, and I would go to Miramax events. But there was a couple of people who worked for Harvey who I was friendly with. His primary producer, whose name is Meryl Poster, who I was friendly with, and
Do you know whether Mr. Epstein had his own relationship with Mr. Weinstein?
he did.
Did they socialize together at the island or in Palm Beach or New Mexico?
I never saw Harvey at any of Epstein's houses, so socialized. I don't know that they were friends. I mean, I can't see them together either. I mean, literally. But I know that they certainly do that. I would imagine, and in fact, I think I have a memory, but I can't, that when Harvey was trying to raise money for whatever his business was called, I can't remember what his business is called. Maybe he went there because Epstein was good at raising money. I just don't know. But I never saw them. I don't recall seeing Harvey in any of the properties.
Let's go a few more minutes and take a break. I know it's after lunch, so we talked several hours ago about your father and his business a little bit. After your father passed, do you know whether Mr. Epstein was involved in your family business that you know of?
Absolutely not. In any respect. First of all, there was no family business left. Start with that problem. And the second one is, my family didn't like him very much. And they were busy dealing with their own problems, and there was no relationship whatsoever. I mean, my mum and he got along quite well. That was it. But she's an old lady. He was nice to her.
We're now being a little repetitive, but you're confident that before you met Mr. Epstein, he didn't know your father, and so he wouldn't have done business with your father's companies in the 80s either.
Absolutely not. I'm 100% sure of that. I never met him, I never saw him, I never heard his name. No, nothing.
So, there's been a lot of conversations about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Did you know of the existence of any such list?
There is no list. We'll start with that. The genesis of that story I can actually trace for you from its absolute inception, if that is what you're interested in.
Well, first, to be short, there is no list, there's no client list, nothing like that.
No, there's nothing like that.
That you know.
That I, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you say you think you know the genesis, so go ahead, tell us.
I'd like you to know that I have brought some supporting corroborative evidence.
Well, tell me what it is
Well, why
too,
don't
and then
you
we'll get
tell
the
it
corroboration.
first?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Is this? Do you want to take a break here? Because this is a long.
It's a long
is the
story.
story. Yeah, this is
Let's take a break. Yeah, let's take a break.
All right, the time is 2:03, and we're going to take a break right now. All right, we're resuming the recorded proffer of Miss Maxwell. It is 2:16 on Thursday, July 24th. And the recording device is now on.
So when we stopped to take a break, we were talking about what has been publicly discussed as a black book or the Epstein list, and that's where we are. So you said you think you might know, or that you're aware of kind of the origin of this narrative.
Right. I just want to reiterate again, there is no list that I am aware of. I've never, at any time, at least during the period of time when I was present.
Okay.
The origin of this story, I believe, begins, or it has a beginning in 2009, and then it has a prequel, but we have to start in 2009. In 2009, there is Epstein is, I think, out of jail, and there are civil suits taking place. Many of these are coming out of a disgraced law firm, Rothstein, Rosenfeld and Adler. At that law firm is a lawyer who started there in April, May 2009, called Brad Edwards. In 2009, allegedly, the FBI gets a call in October of 2009 from Brad Edwards. He allegedly tells them that he has come across a piece of evidence that belongs to Epstein that contains a list of all of his clients and victims, underage girls, massage therapists, and his and the men who are having sex with them. And Brad Edwards becomes a cooperating witness, confidential informant for them, and in a sting operation obtains the list from a former butler of Epstein's called Alfredo Rodriguez. And it becomes evidence in the civil suit. Alfredo Rodriguez is subsequently prosecuted for having an AK-47 or something weird, some guns or something, and goes to trial, and there's a criminal complaint that the FBI produce, and in that criminal complaint it says that Brad Edwards became aware of the list, we'll call it the list for the purposes of this, after Alfredo Rodriguez's 2 depositions that are held in Epstein's civil suit. It's in the FBI's affidavit that the evidence was collected, and Brad Edwards became aware of it after the 2nd deposition. It's in the criminal complaint. The truth is different from what's in both the criminal complaint and in that FBI affidavit, and in Brad Edwards' own statements on the subject. The truth is that Alfredo Rodriguez was deposed twice, once in July and once in August. And in the July deposition, told Brad Edwards that he had handwritten notes or a journal or whatever in the deposition. And Brad Edwards replies, well, we're going to come back for a 2nd deposition. And the 2nd deposition takes place in August. What this means is that Brad Edwards had access to the list from sometime between July and August until when he actually called the FBI in October. So we're talking 6 months or so. Rothstein's firm was raided a few days after the list went into the FBI's hands, and subsequently Rothstein himself was prosecuted for RICO and I believe went to jail for 50 years. As part of that RICO case, he admitted to, on the record, and was, I don't know whether he was prosecuted for creating fake settlements and fake evidence in Epstein's case. In 2009, simultaneously whilst this was going on, my boyfriend, Ted Waite, was asked for $10 million to keep me out of any of Epstein's civil suits. Up until then, I had not been in any of Epstein's civil suits. In fact, I wasn't even sure, save for the first time I was mentioned was by, I was basically nowhere. And then Ted was called for this $10 million and had been shown, his people had been shown evidence that included the list, the flight logs, and various other pieces of evidence. Now we're going to the prequel part of this story, so then it can tie to how this starts. In 2007, Epstein signs the non-prosecution agreement. He then fights the prosecution agreement or debates it through the DOJ or whatever happened there, and goes to the court in 2008 when it's accepted or whatever that is. Villafana was the lead prosecutor, in that case, and she, I think, was not happy with the outcome, and utilized, at that time, Brad Edwards to file the CVRA case. Now, what I have managed to understand from this is within the OPR itself there is evidence. There it says that Brad Edwards was the only lawyer that she was allowed to talk to, so I just want to preface that. The reason why I know that she went behind Acosta's back and everything else to do this is because Brad Edwards, in a podcast, made the revelation. What he says is that he'd never heard of the CVRA case before, and Villafana called him and told him to file it. The sole purpose of the CVRA was to overturn the non-prosecution agreement. So what I believe is that Villafana worked with Brad Edwards, who she had also he was the lawyer that she had selected as a pro bono lawyer for some of the victims. And he was also working for Rothstein's firm that was under RICO investigation for that entire time, creating fake evidence in Epstein's case. And she had just filed hidden, secret, using Edwards to overturn the NPA by filing this CVRA case. That sole purpose was to overturn it. And so when he approached her with the list, this was part of the effort to utilize and find new evidence to support the overturning either of the NPA and or of a new case against Epstein. Because Brad Edwards, or I don't know if it was Brad Edwards, because Rothstein's firm asked my then boyfriend for $10 million to kick me out of suits that I had no knowledge of at that time whatsoever, I now know that the base of this story was a blackmail of a billionaire, because Ted Waite was a multi-billionaire. He had everything. He was way, way more wealthy than Epstein, if anyone cares. And that is the reason why Ted and I broke up. Or was the basis of it.
So,
and that list was created, so then the masseuses that were on that list, I had never heard of some of them. I not even from the civil suits that had come up since I've seen it. This is me now knowing what's in the list today. And I believe that, Alfredo Rodriguez, so there's a metamorphosis of this list. So the original statement that Brad Edwards makes that's in the documents contemporaneously is that it's pieces of paper that Alfredo has. It then morphs into something that Alfredo took, a book that Alfredo took from Epstein's computer, but there's no computer, I know, certainly not in 2005 when this was allegedly taken, that came out as a book. And then it morphed into, at the civil time of my civil cases, into a book that was taken from my computer. And then it morphed into the Southern District of New York as a combination list of mine and Epstein's. That is a metamorphosis through documents that you can trace.
So there, in your mind, well, from what you just described, there is a list. It's just manufactured. I mean, have you seen the list even fake? Like, do you know?
I haven't seen it, but
So
what
I was confused.
So I guess my thing is that what Brad Edwards says in all of these things is in the paperwork and whatnot. And then, so all this story is basically controlled by 5 people. There's 4 alleged victims that speak about the list and the blackmail and the men and the sex and whatnot. And the lawyers, and now the prosecutors, sorry, the Southern District of New York for sure. But no one else. None of these stories carry from any of the 44 alleged original victims. They never ever say that they were farmed out to anybody.
But the list itself,
Yes.
where is it?
There is no list, but Brad Edwards said
So
that
that's
he
what I was a little
created
bit
the list.
confused about.
Sorry, he created a list. So in that book that Alfredo Rodriguez produced that became evidence, Exhibit 52 in my trial, it has markings all over it, circles and dots and whatnot. And Brad Edwards says that he got Alfredo Rodriguez to mark up the book of all the people who were involved. It includes Alan Dershowitz, for the record, who's marked. I don't remember what it does with Donald Trump. I don't know. You'd have to look. I don't have it. But I believe. So what he did, he marked up. I don't know who. Somebody marked up that book of names, and I think all the names of the people that they went for were originally selected between 2 sources. One was this alleged book of names, and one was also from the telephone logs that were collected from the house in Palm Beach. And just to finish it off, there is a note. I have some papers for you if you wanted them, where Brad Edwards says that he has a list of 25 men that he got money off.
So okay, so the list that everybody, the black book, the list. What you're saying is that your Exhibit 52 from your trial, which is like more of an address book or Rolodex type thing, that Mr. Rodriguez, Alfredo Rodriguez, your understanding is that somewhere along the way he went through and kind of marked that list to say.
I don't know where that book actually comes from.
Okay.
I don't know what that book is. That book is some type of a compilation, but what it is it's just pieces of paper with type. So if you could have made a list. I could put.
But you're referring to something that's been public for a long. I mean, if we're thinking about the same thing, you're talking about you're right. It's like a bunch of different types of paper, or whatever. I only have a copy of it, but with big parts of it redacted publicly because
Yes.
people's addresses and
Yes,
whatnot
that's what
on
I'm
it.
talking about.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
oh, perfect, yes. So you will find...
We're looking at Exhibit 52 now.
Okay, so you're looking at Exhibit 52. So the one they produced, the Southern District of New York actually produced a book for me to see it as evidence, the actual thing it was. And it has marks, it has tabs, it has things, it has names I've never seen. It had like that list of that list was basically the names that they choose to produce at trial. Now, in Rothstein Adler's firm, I also have some documents where Rothstein, his original scheme at Rothstein Adler was to place prostitutes. He had a bar, a dancey bar, where he had girls, and I believe he would use them and put them as fake secretaries in people's offices, and then she might touch him or he might touch her or something, and boom, he got $25,000 for that. And those girls, and I'm not saying that those are the girls that came in Epstein's case necessarily, but
But again, we're separating the evidence that came in at your trial and what you just talked about with Brad Edwards and Mr. Rodriguez. During the time that you were with Mr. Epstein, and even in the 2000s when you were around less frequently, you never observed or you never saw any sort of list or black book or a list of individuals who linked to certain masseuses or
Absolutely
anything
not.
like that.
Absolutely no. There is no list. There is no, I'm not aware of any blackmail. I never heard that, I never saw it, and I never imagined it.
While we're on this topic, just again, I know we're jumping around and we've been going at it for a while, so I apologize. But there's recently been reports about a birthday book that you assembled for Mr. Epstein, I think for his 50th birthday in 2003.
That's true.
What do you know about that?
So, my mum did a birthday book for my father at his 60th. And when Epstein would talk about his 50th, he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, well, that's a nice thing. So my mum did this book for my dad. And he said, I love that idea. He said, can you help coordinate it? And he organized he called a lot of the people himself. I coordinated the putting together of the book. And in some instances, I called people to ask them to contribute.
What was in the book? Like, what was the ask of the people you called?
It's his 50th birthday. Say anything you want on a piece of paper.
Okay.
I mean, nothing more than
Right.
that.
I mean, it was an obvious question, but you basically, his folks were invited to send something to you to celebrate his birthday.
Yes, to say happy birthday with like have a wonderful day or something else. There was no ask, but I wasn't responsible for everybody in that book, and there were people that he would ask himself to contribute.
And do you remember specific names of individuals who did send letters or who did contribute?
It's been so long. I want to tell you that I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
The article talks about several names, but including the focus of the article, which is on Donald Trump. Do you remember President Trump submitting a letter or a card or a note?
I don't.
Do you think the articles, do you remember seeing that book or any portion of the letters in your discovery in New York?
Yes.
Okay, what do you remember seeing?
I remember there were some portions of that book, but what surprised me was how few there were. because I thought if you had those, where are the rest? There was none of Mr. Trump.
In your discovery.
In my discovery, sorry. President Trump, there was nothing from
And
President
do
Trump.
you remember, but separate and apart from your discovery, do you remember one way or the other whether President Trump submitted a letter for his 50th birthday?
I do not remember.
And the article that references the letter talks about like either a picture of a naked woman or something like that. Do you have any recollection of that?
I do not. Wait, no, I don't.
Do you remember? So what do you remember seeing from your discovery around the book? Like you said, portions of it or some of the pictures? What do you remember?
I remember there were maybe. So I just want to say about the discovery that I had about, maybe this is an exaggeration, I'm not sure, but in my mind it's about close to 5 million pages, 5 million documents. It was a lot. And of that giant document dump that I received, I was only, maybe as much as 30 to 35% I was never able to access. And this is documented at the court. And so I cannot say that I saw everything because I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
I just want you to know that. And I think that was by design.
But you do remember
I do remember some pages.
seeing some pages of
I
the
do,
book.
yes.
Okay. Do you remember which pages you saw? Like from who had written those letters, or no?
I really don't remember,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Did you and/or so the same questions we've asked about some other individuals? Did you meet Bill Gates over the years?
Yes.
Because of your relationship with Mr. Epstein, or separate?
That one, well, I met Mr. Gates. I went to the TED conference. I went to TED conference and I actually spoke at the TED conference. Not the main stage, the sub-stage. And I also gave several TEDx's. And I met him there, but we weren't friendly, and I actually did meet him because I knew I don't know if he was chief of staff or whoever, Boris. And I met him, I think, once. I may have met him actually at 71st Street. I may have once. I don't remember if I met him there or at a restaurant. I don't remember. And that would have been because of Epstein, because Epstein was friendly with Boris, and Boris. That's all I remember.
Do you know whether Mr. Gates traveled with Mr. Epstein on his plane to any of his houses?
So if that friendship was after, it was in the late 2000s, so if I met him, like I said, I went to Epstein's house maybe once or twice, and maybe I met him there, I don't remember.
So
But-
you don't.
So I wouldn't know if he had been on Epstein's
And
plane.
you don't recall ever being on like a plane with him, flying to the island or to anywhere.
No.
Do you know somebody named Reid Hoffman?
I do.
Who's that?
Reid's a Silicon Valley guy.
Is what?
Silicon Valley.
And how do you know him?
Through my friends in San Francisco. I used to have a very close friend who was in San Francisco who's part of that whole, I have several actually, or had.
So is that a relationship you have kind of separate and apart from Mr. Epstein?
Oh, separate.
Do you know whether Mr. Epstein had a relationship with Reid Hoffman?
I don't know.
Did you ever observe Mr. Hoffman flying anywhere with you or Mr. Epstein,
No.
or getting massages?
No.
So there's a list of multiple masseuses that is floating around. I think you had in your discovery. I think you were just talking about that. That list. Do you know how that list was created?
No. All that stuff that came out of that book, I now find suspect.
It's part of the story you just told us.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying it's all fake. I don't
Yeah.
know what's real and what's not. I don't know what
Understood.
name is true. Now that it's been, to my mind anyway, now that it has been, without a doubt, contaminated and possibly fraudulent, I I'm not, I don't know. I mean, obviously the numbers that I recognize on my own, those are real, but how it was actually ended up put together and compiled and the purposes for it, for which then they blackmailed my boyfriend, now I'm just, no.
Over the years, when you were serving as like the general manager, so the mid-90s all the way into the 2000s, did you or do you know whether anyone maintained a list of all the masseuses, like a running list?
So there's two things, well, three ways. So I know that the house itself, John Alessi had a Rolodex that he kept the names and numbers of all the people that came to the house so that he could call. So, because I only was with Epstein even at best half the time. So when I was there, he had like his chief of staff who could find whatever he needed, and when I wasn't there, he had to rely on somebody else, right? So be that John Alessi or whoever else. So everybody, whoever was traveling with him or however, wherever he was, he needed somebody else to access information. So he had an assistant, chief, who was his secretary, who would be the one that would update his computer. You know, like everybody has an address book.
But was what you're describing, which it makes sense. Was that a list of masseuses or a list of people that might need to be contacted, which would necessarily include a lot of masseuses?
That's the latter.
And did you update that? Like, were you one of the people that would add names to it? Like, if a masseuse came and leaves and Mr. Epstein says yes, she was good, would you be part? Like, how was the list kind of maintained, or who maintained it?
Typically, no, because there would be an assistant who would do that. Plus, Epstein would not allow me to answer the telephone ever. So, or maintain or keep any of his messages in the office or at the house. So typically that wouldn't be, because I wouldn't be the one. Could I say to you I never did it? No, of course not, because that just seems ludicrous. But as a rule of thumb, the answer would be no.
During the 2007-8-9 the investigation out of the Southern District of Florida, so you said that you weren't contacted by law enforcement.
I was not.
After Mr. Epstein was charged, did you have conversations with him about the investigation?
He never talked to me about it.
Did you,
I mean, I can't, let's put it this way. If he did, I have no recollection of it. I mean, I'm sure he must have said, this is all whatever he said, or it's nothing, or whatever. I mean, I just don't have any memory. I mean, I was with Ted. I was like gone. I mean, plus, I just didn't want to know either, I suppose.
so you don't know firsthand why the U.S. Attorney in Florida made the deal that he did? Meaning you weren't part of that discussion along the way. Like, Mr. Epstein didn't say, I'm getting a good deal, or, you know, something's happening with the case that's very good. You to the extent you know anything about it, it's just from what you've heard or read from others, not from Mr. Epstein. Is that right?
He never talked about the non-prosecution directly with me, no. But he did.
But it's still enforceable as to her.
I mean, he never said, hey, are you happy with this deal? Like that. But I understood. I mean, he never enjoined me to the MPA, but I understand that he included me specifically, and I'll tell you why.
Well, it's okay. You don't need to get into that.
No, yeah, I don't want to talk about the legal,
Yeah.
the what's on appeal. I'm just.
No, I would. Well,
the reason for my question, and just to be, I'm not trying to hide something. But there's a very strong belief that he got a very good deal, and that he should have been sentenced to more time, or got a different sentence from the feds than a non-prosecution agreement. And I'm not asking you to opine on that, but I'm wondering whether he ever talked to you about that. But it sounds like he didn't.
that he got a good deal? No. I think actually, well, his comments that I've read was that he didn't get a good deal, and I think that when he fought it so hard, it's because he didn't think he did.
When he was serving his sentence, were you around during that time, like when he was allowed to leave during the day or travel during the day?
I never called him, I never saw him, and I never went to the jail.
So I'm going to ask you questions that you shouldn't read into them. I just want to know whether they resonate with you. Have you ever had any contact with any representative that you know of from Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency?
Can you ask me that again?
Have you ever had any contact with an individual that you understand to be from Mossad, an Israeli intelligence agency?
Well, not deliberately.
Pardon me?
Not deliberately.
Okay. And did you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but just to put a finer point on it, did you ever know that were you ever told, do you ever think that Mr. Epstein was getting any money from any intelligence agency, including Mossad?
Well, I don't believe so, but I wouldn't know. I mean, I would be very surprised if he did. I don't think so. No.
We've talked about a lot of names, and I'm sure there's some that we haven't covered. Are there any foreign nationals? So right now we've talked about some British, the royal family a little bit, and maybe high society folks in Britain. Were there any international businessmen or politicians that had a very close relationship or a close relationship with Mr. Epstein that we haven't already talked about?
Off the top of my head, I can think of Ehud Barak.
You said that Mr. Epstein, at some point in the mid to late 90s, he started taking testosterone. Did you ever know him to take any other drugs?
No. I mean, he took pills for his heart, I think. But no substances.
What do you know anything about his heart condition? I know we talked about this at 9:45 this morning, but do you know anything about his heart condition beyond that you understood he had a heart condition that affected his ability to have sex?
Other than what he told me, no, he never shared anything. But he did take pills. I don't know anything about that. And like I said, he did the testosterone, which made him mean.
And we're jumping around a little bit.
Sorry.
Do you know someone named Donald Barr?
No.
He is, I can represent to you, was a former headmaster of the Dalton School, which you mentioned earlier.
All right.
Do you remember any conversations with Mr. Epstein about a book that Mr. Barr wrote called Space Relations?
I've never heard of that.
About aliens and sex?
No.
Do you know have you ever met the former Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr?
No.
Do you remember whether Mr. Epstein knew him or whether his name ever came up in conversations you had with Mr. Epstein?
I don't recall any.
Okay. Did you have a relationship, or no? I'm using relationship, and I appreciate you don't like that word. Did you know Mr. Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein?
Yes.
How did you know him?
Through Jeffrey.
How would you describe your relationship? Close, friendly?
My personal?
Yes.
Not that close, but friendly enough. I mean,
How was Jeffrey Epstein's relationship with his brother Mark, from what you observed?
I mean, they were brotherly, but I think that I don't know. There had periods when they were closer, and then when they weren't. I think sometimes Epstein found his brother irritating.
And I think I know the answer is given what you just said about Bill Barr, but did you ever hear any from Mr. Epstein or anybody else that Bill Barr had any role in Mr. Epstein getting a good plea deal in Florida, or any role in that process with Mr. Acosta?
I never heard that.
I think you said this in an interview, but if I'm wrong, forgive me. Do you have a view of Mr. Epstein, of whether he committed suicide or whether something else happened?
Can we take a
Wanna
break?
take a break?
right there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can take a break. Yeah, sure. Actually, it's a good time to take a break anyway, because this will be the last one of the day.
All right, so we're going to take a break at, it's 2:53, Thursday, July 24th.
I need an email that I can send some sworn statements to you directly. Tell him I'm a friend of Mr. Soros's and that I am contacting him about Ghislaine Maxwell and some organized crime within the Department of Justice office. Thank you.